Rachel clutched her boarding pass as she sat curled in the stiff leather chair near gate 17. Her legs ached from hours of waiting, and her phone battery had long died, disconnecting her from the world, and more importantly, from her little brother who was waiting for her in New York. Today was his high school graduation, and she had promised him she would be there no matter what. She had saved every dollar from her part-time job at the art supply store, skipping lunches and selling old books, just to afford the trip. It had already been a long day. Delays due to weather, a mix-up with security, and a spilled cup of airport coffee on her sweater. But finally, the moment had come. Boarding had begun. Her group would be called soon. She exhaled a long breath of relief, stood up, and stretched. That's when she heard it. A child's wail, sharp, tired, and hungry. It cut through the buzz of the boarding call and the shuffle of passengers like a siren. She turned her head and saw them. A man in his mid-30s, soaked from the rain, holding a squirming toddler with one hand while dragging a backpack with the other. The child, maybe 2 years old, looked worn out, red cheeks, hair damp, crying softly now into the man's chest. They approached the gate agent with desperation in their eyes. "I'm sorry, sir," the agent said. "You missed the final boarding call. Your seat was released." The man looked stunned. "I was here. I had to change my daughter's diaper in the car. She got sick. I didn't think it would take that long." Rachel could hear the panic rising in his voice. "My wife, she passed last year," he continued, his words heavy. "We're trying to see her mother. My daughter hasn't seen her grandma in years." "I understand, sir," the agent said with sympathy but firmness. "But there's nothing I can do. The flight is full." Rachel stood frozen, ticket clutched tightly in her hand, heart racing. She looked at the father again. The lines on his face weren't just from the rain. They were the marks of someone who hadn't slept well in weeks. A man trying to be both mother and father. A man doing his best. She looked down at her ticket. Then back at the child, now hiccuping in exhaustion. She didn't know what came over her, but her feet were already moving before she could fully think it through. She walked straight to the counter. "Excuse me," she said softly, tapping the agent's desk. "Can't he take my seat?" The agent blinked. "You're giving up your ticket?" Rachel nodded, already feeling her throat tighten. "Yes, I'll wait for the next flight." The man turned to her in disbelief. "No, you don't have to. Really, please, you must have your own reason for flying." "I do," she replied. "But she needs to see her grandma. You need rest. And, I'll manage." His eyes glistened. "I don't even know your name." "Rachel," she said, offering a small smile. He hesitated, then held out his hand. "James, and this sleepy one is Emma." Rachel shook his hand briefly, careful not to disturb the child. "You're a stranger," James said, voice cracking slightly, "but you just gave my daughter a gift I'll never forget." Rachel swallowed, feeling her own tears threatening. "It's okay. Just get on that flight." The gate agent quickly switched the name on the ticket and handed it over to James. He took it, whispered a thank you once more, and with Emma nestled against his chest, walked toward the boarding gate. Just before disappearing around the corner, he turned back one last time. Their eyes met again. No more words were needed. Rachel stood there, unsure whether to cry or smile. Her flight was gone. Her brother's graduation might happen without her. But something inside her felt lighter than it had in days. She hadn't just lost a seat. She'd gained something far deeper, a sense that in a world rushing past each other, a small act of compassion still mattered. And somewhere deep in her heart, she hoped that this wasn't the last time she'd see that little girl and her tired father. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, and Rachel stepped into the polished corridor of Whitestone Holdings. Her heart thudded in her chest as she glanced around. Everything screamed wealth. The marble floors, the minimalist art, the scent of expensive wood polish in the air. She adjusted the strap of her worn leather bag and checked her reflection in a wall mirror. Her navy blue blouse, though neatly ironed, looked modest compared to the sleek suits and stilettos worn by the women passing her. It had been 2 weeks since the airport. After giving up her ticket and spending the night sleeping on a cold plastic chair, she had returned to her apartment to find an email waiting, a response to a job application she had almost forgotten she'd sent. It was for a junior graphic designer position at one of the most successful firms in the city. She had stared at the message in disbelief, then burst into tears. Maybe the universe was paying her back in small, strange ways. Miss Rachel Lane, a young assistant with a clipboard called out from behind a reception desk. Rachel stood. "Yes, Mr. Carter will see you now. Right this way. She followed the assistant down the hall, her nerves fraying with each step. Interviews were always intimidating, but this was different. This was Whitestone. People dreamed of walking through these doors. The assistant opened a tall, frosted glass door. Go ahead. Rachel stepped inside, blinking as the sunlight poured in through massive windows that revealed the Manhattan skyline beyond. The man standing at the window turned slowly, and her breath caught in her throat. It was him, the same man from the airport, the tired father with the soaked hoodie and desperate eyes. Only now he wore a dark charcoal suit, a crisp white shirt, and the quiet command of someone who ran empires. You, she whispered before she could stop herself. He smiled, warm, calm, and sincere. Yes, we meet again, Rachel. Her mouth went dry. I didn't know. I didn't either, he said, walking forward and extending his hand. James Carter, CEO of Whitestone Holdings. She shook his hand, her palm suddenly clammy. He motioned to the chair across from his desk. Please, sit. Rachel obeyed slowly, her mind still spinning. I had no idea you were a CEO, a millionaire, he chuckled softly. Most people don't expect that from a man juggling a screaming toddler and a diaper bag. Rachel gave a small laugh, still too stunned to find her footing. I never got to properly thank you, James said, his tone shifting. That flight you gave up, it meant everything. It was the first time Emma met her grandmother. She passed away 5 days later. Rachel's eyes widened. I'm so sorry. Don't be, he said quietly. You gave me that moment. You gave her that moment. You didn't know who I was. You didn't ask for anything. You just acted. That tells me more about your character than any resume ever could. She looked down, unsure of how to respond. James reached across the desk and picked up a folder. I reviewed your portfolio. It's creative, thoughtful, and bold. I know you applied for a junior position, but I'd like to offer you something else. Rachel blinked. What do you mean? He slid the folder toward her. Inside was an offer letter. The title read, Senior Design Associate. Her eyes widened. This has to be a mistake. It's not, he said. You see, I don't just hire talent, I hire integrity. You proved both. The salary is double what you expected. Full benefits, and you start Monday, if you accept. Rachel sat frozen, tears pricking her eyes. She had walked into the interview hoping for a chance. She was walking out with a career, and a boss who believed in her for reasons beyond her work. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say yes, he replied simply. She looked up, then smiled through tears. Yes. In that moment, she realized that the seat she gave away at the airport had somehow led her to the seat she was meant to claim all along. Months had passed, but Rachel still thought about that rainy evening at the airport. One small gesture, a decision made in seconds, had shifted the course of 2 lives. She had surrendered a seat on a plane and received a seat at the table of one of the most prestigious companies in New York. What she didn't know then was that James Carter was not just any father, he was a man with influence, compassion, and a memory that held tightly to those who showed genuine kindness. To him, Rachel wasn't just the girl who gave up her ticket. She was the person who reminded him that humanity still existed in a world that moved too fast. Now, Rachel was thriving in her role as a senior design associate, leading projects, mentoring interns, and helping redefine the company's creative vision. But more importantly, she had built a bond with James and little Emma that went far beyond the office. She was invited to birthdays, late dinners, and quiet moments where laughter replaced grief and hope replaced loss. Sometimes, she would sit with Emma in the company lounge, letting the little girl doodle on her sketchpad while James worked nearby. And each time Emma looked up with her big, bright eyes and called her, Auntie Rachel, she would smile, reminded that love, opportunity, and second chances often arrive when we least expect them, disguised as a tired stranger and a child in need. Rachel had missed her brother's graduation, but she had gained something much deeper, a new path, a new family, and a powerful reminder that the kindness we offer freely often finds its way back to us in the most extraordinary forms. Sometimes, a delayed flight is the universe's way of making sure you arrive exactly where you're meant to be.